When we think about art in New Mexico, we think about Southwest art, and there's a lot of different kinds of art here in the Southwest. Today we're at J.D. Challenger's studio and home in Taos, New Mexico. He's got a lot of great things to share with us today about the world of Southwest art. Come on inside. Well, hi, J.D.
Hey, Richard. How you doing,
I'm doing great. It's great to see you again.
Good to see you.
There's nothing I like more than coming in to visit J.D. Challenger because he always has a surprise for us. And I can tell today you have a real surprise because I'm used to coming in here and having you and I talk about the canvases that you're working on. But today, you've got a big surprise for me.
This is a big surprise.
This is really an incredible bronze.
Oh, thank you.
And I know just by looking at it that it's your work. Tell us a little bit about the process for bronze and how it works.
The original was done in clay. And
is it done as a life size, just like this?
Yes, it was done as you know, you've got to get the calipers and you just eyeball it. This is like, I think, the fourth one I've ever done, right? And the first one that I did, the first bronze, took me about a year and a half because I'm used to working flat. Now it's like, oh man, what does the back of their heads look like? You know?
Mm-hmm. Well, the art of J.D. Challenger certainly has many different phases to it. And the other thing I wanted to mention about this before you give us our other surprise of the day is I recognize this guy.
Oh yeah.
Who is this?
His name is Rodney Grant. And he's an actor, and if you saw Dances with Wolves, he was
wind in his
hair. Rodney, he's one of my dearest friends in the world. We have been friends forever.
Well, you've immortalized him very, very well in this great bronze piece, and I'm wondering if there's a way that we can see the whole process on how these are made.
Oh, I think there probably is. That would be your surprise.
Great.
Yeah, and I'm going to send you over to Taos Bronze and Micheal Hamilton. And this is what he's always wanted to do, to have his foundry and do, you know, the whole thing. And I've kind of watched him grow. And I got to tell you, I'm real proud of him. He's got a flourishing business over there, but that's who I want to do these bronzes.
Well, we'll go over and see Micheal. I've met Micheal a couple of times. He's an incredible young artist. And I think when we think about bronze, we think of the creator of the bronze, but there's a real art that we're going to learn about, I'm sure, from Micheal on how this whole piece comes together.
Absolutely.
So we'll take off, we'll go over and see Micheal, and we'll come back and report in as we do every week.
All right. Sounds good.
I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am to be here with my good friend Micheal Hamilton. Micheal, great to see you.
You too, Richard. Thanks for coming out.
Sure. We're at Taos Bronze and Fine Art. This is Micheal's home. This is where he performs his magic. He's an artist, as you can see. He does a great amount of work in bronze, and he's the man that's going to help you understand what I need to understand, because I've been a lover of bronze for a long time, Micheal, but I've never understood the process. How about filling our viewers in?
Well, I mean, we've taken over 4,000 years figuring that process out. The artist produces an original piece of artwork in either clay, wood, stone, or other types of media, depending on what they're comfortable working in. Our job is to take that original sculpture and then make a reproduction of it in bronze. It's a complicated process. There's about 9 steps involved, and we're going to show you how that works today.
Well, let's just get going and show us how.
Sounds good. Now, once we receive the original artwork from the artist, we're going to make a rubber mold from the original art. This is done by either using brushes or pouring mold material onto it, and that's all going to be depending on the size and the shape of the original. Now, after the rubber cures, we separate the mold in sections, remove the original sculpture, and reassemble those sections, and now we have a mold of that original art. Our next step is to create a wax replica of the original work using our rubber mold. The one that we're showing you today is a solid piece, but generally the bronzes are hollow because of weight and other factors involved with the metal. What we normally do is we pour molten wax into the mold, coating all the surfaces and pouring out the excess wax. We let this wax cool and repeat the process until the wax shell becomes about 1/8 of an inch thick. Once that wax is cooled, we remove it from the mold, touch up any flaws in that wax replica. We add a gating system next, or what's commonly referred to in the industry as a tree of that wax replica. This wax structure will result in funnel-like channels in the final mold so that we can pour the bronze into it. Our next step is to create our shell. This is a mold that we're actually going to pour the bronze into. The shell is made of heat-resistant ceramic that won't melt or deform when we pour the white-hot molten bronze into it. First, we dip the wax into a slurry of extremely fine-grained silica sand. Then we coat it with more sand, with anywhere from 6 to 14 coats depending on the size of that piece. We also coat the inside of the wax replica with the sand mixture. Once it dries, we open the bottom of the tree and heat up the ceramic shell to remove that wax. We now have our ceramic mold. And now, Richard, we get to pour the bronze.
Now, this is the fun part, but I have to tell you a little bit of background. This is an hours-long process. We've been here a whole day to get to this point where we have the opportunity to really get into the fun part. And your partner James is here to help us with that. Tell us about the process of pouring.
Well, right now we're heating up the bronze. And we're going to take that metal just to over 2,100 degrees, Richard. So needless to say, safety is paramount. We've got special clothing that we're going to be wearing, and you really need to know what you're doing. And luckily, the gentleman with me has got a lot of experience.
You can't wear regular gloves.
No.
What do you wear?
Now, we use aluminized clothing. Our main concern is to reflect that amount of heat that's coming towards us.
Okay, and now once you're dressed and ready to go, what happens?
Well, we're going to remove the shells from their tank, around 1,500 degrees they're going to be. We don't want them to be cool. We're going to be pouring that molten hot metal into that shell, and if it's not within a close temperature, it'll shatter. We're going to suspend those over a sand pit, then remove the crucible from the blast furnace, color it up, take it over to those shells, and fill them with molten bronze.
And about how long does this process take?
About 2.5 minutes.
This is really well choreographed, isn't it? It's got to be planned almost to the second.
It really does, Richard, and that's why a lot of us in the industry call it the dance. Now, once the bronze is cooled, we remove the shell. We carefully use hammers and chisels, saws, sandblasting, other various things to remove that ceramic shell from the cooled bronze. Now we reassemble and touch up our bronze. We remove the gating systems, weld sections together, and remove excess bronze at welding seams and other areas. And now for our final step is the patina. We sandblast the clean bronze and apply various chemicals and dioxides to achieve the coloration the artist specifies, and then seal the piece. Well, Richard, we finally have a finished product.
This is awesome, and Micheal made this for me. This is really my first bronze, and I'm thrilled to be able to have walked through the process and have an opportunity to see just the amount of work that goes in this and the finished product, how beautiful this is. And I know that the people who are watching our show today, Micheal, are going to be interested in getting more information from you on how they can own a bronze. So tell us how they can find you.
Well, we're up in Taos Canyon in northern New Mexico, right in between Angel Fire and Taos. And you can always give us a ring if you'd like at 575-751-1915.